I've been faking my nicotine withdrawals from my accountability friend.
This is not a story where I gave up vaping but secretly still do, but something else. 2 weeks ago, me and a friend gave up vaping, and to celebrate, we are going to Zion National Park for a week-long hiking and camping trip with our strong lungs. We made each other accountability partners, and as far as I know, we both are still in the game. I read up on withdrawal management and loaded up and made baskets with ibuprofen, Benadryl, mints, Jolly Ranchers, gum, non-nicotine that people suggested to help quit. We even ran over our vapes in the Walmart parking lot. I do not have a single regret, except I did not do it sooner. I honestly thank the Lord above for it. But when I tell you I had the tiniest levels of withdrawals from quitting nicotine, that was a nasty habit for years. I am not lying. I had a tiny headache on the third day, but apart from that, and just some minor immediate would be so nice, I am fine, and I want my money back from all the time I wasted on that stupid habit. My friend is not in the same boat. I still get calls when we talk that she can't sleep well, binge eats, migraines, and so on. The first couple days every night she would be crying about how shit she felt. I am honestly proud that she didn't go back. This isn't about how I'm annoyed at her. I'm proud, and the pact to be accountability partners makes it my responsibility to be there, because I thought I would be like that and I would like the same treatment from her. She's never taken anger out on me. Different body reactions. I guess I didn't want to discourage her or make her feel alone by saying my journey has been easy, so I just tried to match her energy. I lie and say I've been having killer headaches and can't sleep, and am raging at tiny shit. Hell, I graduated college and am currently living with my parents until my grown-up career starts, and then I'm on my own. I'm stressed F and hate seeing my friend in pain, so I cried with her. But it's all been fake. I feel fine. Had one minor headache that could have been from caffeine withdrawal, 'cause I didn't have coffee that day, but I have zero cravings or anything. I just want us to better ourselves and quit this stupid habit.
I sabotage my only friend's attempt to make other friends so that they don't leave me. Throwaway account, as this friend most definitely knows about my main Reddit account. I'm 18, as is this friend who for simplicity's sake I will refer to as Nick, and we've known each other since 2021. I've always been terrible at making friends, and I truly mean it when I say that he is the only actual friend I have other than basic superficial friends who I don't interact with outside of school. I'm more or less his only friend too, and we've been reliant upon each other for 3 years. A month or so ago, someone from another friend group at school asked Nick if he wanted to hang out with them. I immediately became terrified of the idea that Nick could potentially leave me and join this other group of people who, by the way, despise me, so I immediately started to convince him that it was a bad idea, eventually leading to me making flat-out false screenshots of them speaking about Nick negatively to prove that it wasn't worth it. He eventually agreed with me and decided to not go through with the plans.
Now I know for a fact that he'd be better off with them than me. Plain and simple. They're objectively better company than hanging around with me, and I know he'd be much happier, but my fear of abandonment is so strong, and I so cannot imagine a life where I don't have a singular friend, that I can't bring myself to let go of him. And now the guilt is eating me up alive. It's all I can think about. Every time I see him, all I can think of is how I'm denying him a better social life out of my own selfishness. I think he's noticed something's up with me. He asked me recently why I look so miserable all of a sudden, but I can't bear to tell him what I did. I know for a fact he, like me, wants to branch out and have other friends. I should have let him give it a try, but I didn't, and now I feel so terrible about it. He deserves far better, and I really don't know what to do. We're both definitely not in the best place mentally either, and I know for a fact he deserves friends who actually have their lives sorted out, unlike myself. But again, my brain cannot convince itself to actually do what's right and tell him the truth, that I ruined his chance of making new friends for my own selfish gain. I don't know what to do. Is confessing all this on Reddit the best course of action? Probably not. I'm just at a dead end. I have stolen so much, it's honestly incredible. If I get caught now, I'll probably go away for life. I have been shoplifting since I was maybe in my early teens. It all began with me and my friends at the time wanting to have fun together, so we decided to steal from one of the close corner shops near my house, since I had invited them over. We had walked in, I had grabbed a drink and a pack of cigarettes from behind the counter, while my mate distracted the clerk by asking him questions. We left after the clerk shouted at him to leave him alone. From then on, it almost became like an addiction. Anytime I would go to the shops, I just had to take something. Nothing could stop me. Not even my friends who were there with me could stop me from stealing. I became good. I mean really good, to the point where I could take anything from anywhere. Clothes, food, jewelry, you name it, and I could pinch it from the nearest shop that sold it. I didn't permanently stop until my late 30s, and even then it was so hard to quit. I have matured now and I realize what I've done was wrong, but in the moment it felt so good to take something. The adrenaline that would course through my veins would be like a high. Anyway, do I need help? Is there something wrong with me? Suggestions. I, 18, am doing morally wrong things for the dopamine rush. For context reasons, my moral codex is not to strict meaning in most cases. When things work out how I like them to be, it's fine for me, even tough. It may require rather indelicate tools, with one of the few exceptions being respect, which I value above most, and trying not to unnecessarily damage other people, not lying to them. In general, you could say I'm standing in a good position socially and looks-wise. Your typical extroverted class representative. However, it all started when I got on self-improvement. So at some point, I also tried out dopamine. Stopped playing video games, and stopped consuming pornography. What happened was that the wished effect also did occur. I could read books without forcing myself to do so, was more in the moment and so on. So the wrong part begins here. Despite those benefits, I noticed that you get kind of addicted to high dopamine activities very quickly if you are not cautious. Almost like some drug addict would never took material drugs or did alcohol miss. Over a certain time, I would fall into a few days of intense addiction-like states over a thing just to get myself together again after a few days and never touch it again, which obviously is not ideal, neither good, but worked for the last few months. But at some point, that was not enough, especially in combination with rising final exam pressure. It started slowly, but more and more. You would find me doing things secretly OFC, which is weird if you consider the addiction-like state you're in, while consciously knowing what you are doing is wrong and still doing it, and it led to me doing morally wrong things for a kick. Do you by chance have had any similar experiences or advice from me what to do? Disclaimer. 1. As you may have noticed, English is not my mother language. 2. I'm not a murderer or stalker or STH extreme, like that, don't get me wrong. My self-destructive behavior came back to me with a vengeance. So it's been almost a year since I moved cities in order to go to college. I was excited because my parents have been overprotective all my life and I wanted some freedom. What I got instead was a feeling of alienation and loneliness. I have always had a lot of anxiety growing up, mostly with social situations, because I wasn't allowed to go out alone in my childhood. The first time I went to a friend's birthday without my parents or a guardian was in 11th grade. Yes, I'm not kidding. I felt depressed and very lonely. I didn't feel like going to the college because the crowd is unironically just a bunch of bigots and I can't stand them. I started to become an alcoholic and a smoker. Since I was not going to my college, I didn't submit any of my assignments, and that pretty much fucked up my internals for the first year, and now I have to score a lot in my exams in order to just pass in a particular subject. Yesterday, my dad calls me and says, I know everything. Don't think that I don't, 'cause I know everything in front of my mother too, and then well, they do know everything. For the last 24 hours, Steph has gotten sad, man, like they are insanely disappointed, and I don't blame them. I tried explaining some of my issues and how sad I've been, but well, they think these are just excuses and start comparing me to other kids and whatnot. This is not me trying to justify my behavior. I do want to get better. My parents have my college portal it now, and they have said that they will check it every day from next sem, and that if something like this happens again, they will put me in a rehab center, and I can say goodbye to college. T.S. I have been sober for 2 weeks. I drove on mushrooms and put my friend's lives in danger. This happened a month or so ago. I haven't told anyone in my personal life because I'm so ashamed for my actions, but I really need to get this off my chest. For her birthday, my friend wanted to take a hiking trip with our group of friends, and the site was a 45-minute drive away. We had to split our group into 2 cars, and mine was one we took. We all planned on doing mushrooms and enjoying nature, but I wanted mine to kick in by the time we got there, so I took my dose right before we left. The timing was completely off, and they kicked in after around 0 min, while I was in the middle of driving on a long stretch of highway, which was 1 lane in each direction. Everything was fine. We were joking and chatting, but I felt like I shouldn't be driving. However, the other people in the car were also on shrooms, so I decided to suck it up. At one point we got behind a car that was significantly slower than what we were going before. and my friend told me just go around them. And without a second thought I did, not noticing the other car driving straight at us in the opposing lane. I'm shaking as I type this, but we were stuck between both cars, unable to merge. If the car didn't swerve off the road, we would have crashed head-on at 70 mph, and it would have been completely my fault. I felt so incredibly guilty and stupid for being on shrooms and driving, for putting my friends' lives in danger. They got over it quickly and went back to chatting, probably because by the grace of God we survived. But I was silent the rest of the drive, fighting a panic attack. We opted not to tell the rest of the group, as we didn't want them to worry, and one was already apprehensive about us driving. I haven't told anyone else, and we haven't talked about it since. But I can't shake the fear I had and my regret. I'm never doing something this stupid again. I think about it every day. I spray my brother's cologne on my clothes and can't stop. It started a couple months ago, when I noticed that he had some new cologne on the way to get food. I asked about it, and he acknowledged it, as well as allowing me to spray some on myself. I sprayed it on my favorite hoodie, and I've gotten used to the feeling of comfort being his scent. Anytime I get a chance, I spray some on me. Anytime I smell it, I breathe in as much as possible. It isn't a sexual thing, but I don't know what kind of thing it is. I'm concerned about our relationship, because I don't want to look weird when asking for a spray of cologne or talking to him or something. But no matter what, I still love him like a brother. When I was 14, I threw a bouncy ball at a woman in Walmart. I was immature at 14, and I didn't look my age and had a baby face. I used to go to the store just to throw things at people and run off. This one day, I threw it at the wrong lady who doesn't like kids. In the bathroom aisle, this woman had her back turned looking at a product. I threw the ball at her leg and ran to another aisle. When I ran off, I started walking with these two couples as if they were my parents. This two couple turned into her aisle, and I kept walking straight. I saw the woman walking up and down the aisle looking for me. She saw a glimpse of me, and she asked the couple, "Is that little boy your child?" They said no. She said, "Okay, he just threw a ball at me. Hey you, show me where your parents are, as you just threw a ball at me." I said, "No, I didn't." She said, "Yes, you did show me where they at. I do not deal with little kids." Then I led her to my mom. As we walked through the aisle, literally everyone there was silent and looking at us. When we were walking, I apologized, but she didn't respond. When I found Mom, the woman said to her, "Is this your son?" She said yes. She goes, "Your son threw a ball at me, and then he ran off, and it thought that I didn't see him. I do not play with other people's kids." Mom said, "Okay, did you say sorry?" I said yes, but the woman said I didn't, so I had to apologize again. I was genuinely scared of this woman. I never threw anything at anybody again. I have a horrible habit of stealing things from people. My trauma has made me justify some really shitty behavior. How do I forgive myself? Should I not? Should I seek out a diagnosis? I have a weird relationship with food, and I have a hard time understanding boundaries, sometimes because I have none of my own. I have a habit of stealing my roommates' food, and also other people's pencils for some reason. I would go home for the weekend, and I would eat it and then replace it before she came back. I justified it because I always give other people food, and I don't really care if they take mine either. However, I started to feel extremely guilty for doing this, but I also get scared to ask people for things, so I would just replace it in hopes she wouldn't find out. I ended up taking 2 pieces of Sour Patch Kids after she told me not to, but then I told her and I apologized profusely. Seeing how upset it made her honestly made me feel terrible, and so I have never done it again. But yeah, it's like I felt entitled to it, because I wouldn't care and because I always replace it. I know that's wrong. I would tell myself, it's just food. You wouldn't care if someone took yours. It's not a big deal, but it is a big deal. It's a huge disrespect to people, and I have stopped doing this. Also, when I was working at the high school, I substituted and I took a mechanical pencil off the teacher's desk because it was really cool and I kept it for myself. Here is a list of all the things I've taken this year.